Hi everyone, my name is Susan Morales and my channel is all about learning to follow Jesus. The other day I was listening to a Bible study on free will on YouTube channel Soteriology 101. And on the live chat I asked the question, does God harden hearts? And I thought Leighton Flowers and Brian Wagner did a great job answering my question, and I really wanted to share it with you all. So here we go.
Susan Morales asked the question, does God harden hearts?
Yeah. He being often reproved. In other words, God gives those opportunities, but the one who's often reproved and he hardens his own neck will soon be cut off. That's where God steps in and hardens the heart.
Right.
And you can't humble yourself if God doesn't give you the opportunity.
Right. And so, Susan, to answer this, there's kind of two different types of hardening. There's self-hardening, in other words, like being stubborn. So, for example, if I were to tell my child, I want you to do this, or I want you to do that, or to give them some truth, to bring truth to them in some way, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. And then eventually you say, like the prodigal son, okay, I'm going to let you go. Go do what you want to do. That would be an example of hardening. It would be what the original language in Hebrews, the Hebrew scriptures, the word hardening means to strengthen in one's resolve. In other words, if you're resolved to rebel, God can strengthen you in your resolve to rebel so as to accomplish a purpose through your rebellion. Pharaoh is a good example of this. Pharaoh was already a rebellious man against the things of God before Moses showed up. Okay, so his neck was already stiffened against the things of God prior to Moses even showing up. He was already a calloused individual who hated the God of Israel. Okay, so God didn't have to cause him to be a rebellious man who rejected the revelation. What God does is simply strengthens him in his resolve so as to accomplish the 10 Passover of the 10 plagues, so as to bring about the Passover. So God strengthens Pharaoh in his resolve to bring about the first Passover in the same way that he strengthens Israel in their resolve to bring about the second Passover. God hardens them, meaning giving them over to their own fleshly lusts and desires so that they'll cry out, crucify him. Instead of killing Barabbas, the part of God's plan that he had determined beforehand would be that the Messiah would die for the sins of the world. And that would come by the hands of hardened Jews who he gave over to their rebellion. Didn't cause them to be rebellious, didn't reject them from foundation of the world. He cut them off because of their unbelief, according to Romans 11. So that hopefully explains what we mean by the hardening, or what's called judicial hardening. You'll see it in chapter 11 of Romans, where it says he gives them a spirit of stupor, eyes so that they cannot see, ears so they cannot hear. Now, Calvinists will take verses like that out of the context and say, see, those are the reprobates. Those are the unelect. Those are the ones God didn't really love. And we're saying, no, these are people that God loved. He held out his hands to them all day long. Read chapter 10, verse 21. He longs to gather them like a mother hen gathers her chicks under her wings. Matthew 23:37. He longs to, he weeps over them in Luke 19, 41, 42. This is not a lack of love on God's part, but it's being hidden from their eyes, as he says there in Luke when he weeps over them. Now these things are hidden from your eyes. What's he talking about? That's judicial hardening. It's taking away the light from people who have rejected the light for so long that they can't hear it anymore anyway. Now, here's the beauty of this, Susan. God doesn't harden them in their rebellion because he doesn't love them. He hardens them in the rebellion so as to provoke them to envy, so that they too may see the error of their ways and hopefully come back and be grafted back in. If you don't believe me, read Romans 11 through 14, where exactly what Paul says. They haven't stumbled beyond recovery. These hardened ones, they haven't stumbled beyond recovery. And my ministry to the Gentiles, my hope is it'll provoke these hardened Jews to envy so that they'll leave their unbelief and be grafted back in. So even in their hardening, God is trying to show mercy, which is exactly what he concludes in Romans 11:32 when he says he's bound them all over to disobedience so that he may have mercy on them all. God's desire is love and mercy, even in the hardening of rebellious people like the people of Israel. When you get that, you see that God's expanding his grace and mercy, not narrowing it to a select few who he selected for no apparent reason before the world began. That's never established in the pages of Scripture. So that's a great question, and it helps really clarify, I think, what's happening.
If you're interested in seeing the full video, I will leave the link on this video's description. And also, if you have any further questions on this subject that you would like for me to consider for future videos, please just leave those below. And also, please like and consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks.